everybody, welcome to this B1 English listening practice video. So you can use this video to practice your listening and comprehension as I speak. So today, I'm going to talk about creativity. I feel like this is a topic that doesn't get discussed much outside of certain artistic communities. However, I think it's something important that plays a role in all of our lives. First of all, let's try to define creativity. One of the definitions I found was the following: the use of the imaginations or original ideas. This is exactly how I would describe it. When you produce something original, whether it can be idea, solution, game, or work of art, you are being creative. So that would mean that the opposite of being creative is doing things or copying things that other people do or tell you to do. In many situations, this isn't a bad thing. There are a plethora of situations that don't call for creativity. In this case, the best thing to do is follow others' plans or processes that's already laid out for you. When you're on the job, it's probably not good for you to always try to be creative. You might actually end up making things worse that way. However, there are many situations in which creativity is good, and so we should try to foster that in ourselves and in our children. I mention children because, in my opinion, creativity is an essential part of being a child. For example, when I was a young kid, I played outside practically every day with my neighbors, and the games we played involved a lot of creativity on our part. We had to imagine certain scenarios, think of routes to follow, and invent many aspects of this game as we went along. This called for creative thinking because we had to make these games interesting and fun. However, nowadays, this type of play isn't quite as popular as it used to be. Sure, many kids invent games and play outside, but it's becoming increasingly normal for kids to spend hours in front of a screen every day. Their source of entertainment comes from what they're shown on his device, and so they don't have to be creative to have fun. Some people might not consider this that big a problem. I've worked with many kids in different contexts, and I've definitely seen the importance of creativity in kids' life. I've taught many kids that don't have the tendency to be creative, and in my opinion, this has had some negative effects on their life. In many cases, these kids have worse communication skills and they seem to have less self-confidence. However, on the other hand, I know some kids who probably had too much freedom in their creativity. This also seems to have negative effects. For example, these kids sometimes have trouble following rules. In summary, I think that we should create an environment for our kids that foster creativities, but I also think that we should rein in those creativities at times. So, how can we train our creativities and become more creative in general? I think the best way to do this is to do creative activities. There are plenty of artistic activities that we can try our hand at. For example, you might want to try drawing or painting. I'm certainly not good at either of these, but I do engage in them from time to time, and I think it's really better of it. It's taking me out of my comfort zone and forces me to think and move in a way that's not too familiar to me. Another creative activity that you might want to try is creative writing. Not many people engage in these activities on a regular basis, but they should. It's made you think of words and phrases that you might not normally use, and it forces you to describe things in a way that you're not used to. Needless to say, fiction writers are some of the most creative people out there. I'm sure there are also many other activities you could think of that will help you train your creativities. Okay, now I'm going to ask you 3 questions about today's video. Write the answer in the comment down below. First, what's the opposite of being creative? Second, what's one reason why many kids don't play creative games nowadays? 3. What's one activity that you can do to train your creativities? And this is all for today. Goodbye.